Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Gold is likely to win this election, is the title of this article from FX Empire. Let's see what they're talking about. You'll notice I didn't say let's explore there because I wanted to wait, just do something a little bit different, just to throw you guys for a loop. While you're here, though, there is a blue thumbs up button. If you would press that, it would be most appreciated. Gold, it is going to be the winner, they say, and I agree to a point, but let's kind of look into this and see exactly what it's about. Trump and Biden, they'd had their debate, and it was the last one, and the question is who's going to win the election? This article talks a little bit about that and who they think will win, and but it's going to be very tough to really know for sure. President Donald Trump and Democratic challenger Joe Biden met for the second and last debate before the elections. Thankfully, this time things were less chaotic and with fewer interruptions and the like and insults. Trump has acknowledged that and his aggressive behavior was a liability and decided to change his approach, especially since this was the final opportunity to alter the presidential campaign dynamics. A lot of people thought it really didn't move the needle a whole lot. And FX Empire says it might be too late now. According to both nationwide and state-by-state polls, the market bets Biden is still in a significant lead, as the chart below shows. Moreover, because of the postal voting, many votes are already locked in, as a record 47 million Americans have already cast their ballots. As you can see from this chart, that looks like Biden is in blue, is going to take it out based off of the polling as an average state by state and nationally. In addition to the above, the epidemiological situation does not help Trump at all. People believe that he dealt poorly with the epidemic. And now we even have the resurgence of the number of COVID-19 cases in the U.S. Presented in the chart below. It's not only resurgent, it is a new black record for the number of cases here. The pandemic, and this is the showing of the increasing number of cases there. And now I'm looking at this information presented here as just what the perception is by the media and by the markets. And that's the thing. Now, do I agree with it? Not completely, for sure. But I'm stepping out of my bias for a moment to kind of give this vantage point. So before you comment saying, well, this is you're showing anti-Trump propaganda, keep in mind it's about perception in the markets and from the media. Now, we know the media are biased. There's no question about that. And we also know that the polling has been wrong in the last presidential election, and we really won't have a better idea of what polling is going to be until really the polls come out. The last polls for the election are going to be the most accurate, if there's going to be any accuracy at all, because I know there's an agenda there. At least I feel there is. The pandemic is hitting harder now than in the spring. This means that the economic recovery will remain fragile, which is bad news for Trump, but excellent for gold prices. Indeed, the latest Beige book showed that most parts of the country's economic activity were slight to modest, with the leading economic index just rose 0.7% in September, following the increases of 1.4% in August and 2% in July. However, even though mainstream pollsters have corrected some of the mistakes they made in 2016, it's safe to assume that Trump has better re-election chances than it is widely believed and reflected in the mainstream polls. So there you go. So this article says that there's a chance with the mistakes it made in 2016. As you might have noticed by now, Biden spurs less enthusiasm than Trump, and even less enthusiasm than Clinton, for that matter. He is mainly an anti-Trump choice, so some of his voters may not show up in the ballot today. So what does this mean for gold? Well, it depends on the election results. The best scenario for gold will be a Democratic sweep, as it would imply more chances for higher taxes, increased regulation, and big fiscal stimulus. And I think most of my left-leaning friends out there would not disagree that those are the policies that the Democrats would try to implement. the Democratic Party has moved further to the left, and higher taxes, increased regulation, and big fiscal stimulus are cornerstones of that agenda. Trump's victory should be good for gold, as it would be a continuation of trade wars, budget deficits, and geopolitical uncertainty. After all, as the chart below indicates, gold saw about 50% gain during Trump's presidency. We can see how gold has moved during the presidency of Trump. And a lot of things that he has said or done has probably moved the needle for gold. And that goes back to something that I've said that some people disagree with me on, that is that politics do play a part in the precious metal prices. And I believe this is indicative of that. And by the way, this has been happening since before Trump as well. So what is the worst scenario, but not necessarily bad in absolute terms, would be Biden's victory, but with Republicans retaining the Senate. In such a case, we would get more predictability in the White House and in foreign policy, while Republicans would block the most disastrous ideas of a new president. Another issue is that the election results will probably be contested. Some analysts claim that it would be bad for gold prices, as contested outcomes would delay the fiscal stimulus. Not only that, but you're going to have riots, literal riots in the streets. In fact, major protests are already being planned right now. Numerous in many cities around the United States. Last but not least, the reiteration is that the presidential election's relevance for gold prices may be overstated. After all, the gold fundamentals are still positive. The real interest rates remain in the negative territory, while the U.S. dollar has recently weakened compared to the spring. Moreover, the fiscal stimulus will take place despite who wins the elections. The only difference is that the Democrats are willing to spend more. The fresh government spending will increase the fiscal deficit, and the public debt should be even more favorable for gold. One thing is for sure that you can bet on in life: taxes and death. And maybe we can add a third, and that is increased national debt. It's not going to go down by a single cent. It's going to continue climbing because of deficit spending. Both parties, established or otherwise, and well, maybe for a select few in Congress, are against any kind of new spending, but not very many. Furthermore, the COVID-19 cases resurgence increases the chances for higher stimulus or even additional packages after some time. And of course, the Fed will buy some of these newly issued treasuries, leading to further quantitative easing and a larger Fed balance sheet, which should also support the gold prices. So that is where that article is. And this is from Arcaduez Sierran, a doctorate there. But one thing this article is not talking about is the economic recovery. Not mentioned anywhere in this article that I could see, that other than saying that the leading economic index, whatever that could be, this is a conference board data, but nonetheless, we do have some very positive economic news with the recovery of many of those jobs that were lost, number one. Number two is GDP numbers that will be released this Saturday before the election, which could range between 25 to 35%, according to Trump. Now, this is Trump saying it, and there may be some political hope there that may not occur. But if those numbers come back below 25%, that could hurt Trump, especially for those people who have not, obviously not voted yet. But we'll fight, we'll see, and we'll see what happens here in this regard. It is interesting, but it just goes to show you that no matter what happens, the overall sentiment of this article I do agree with, because our debt and deficit will continue to grow. There will be more stimulus, which means the dollar will be diluted by other dollars, and the debasement of our currency continues, therefore leading to, the bullish for gold, because the dollar index is going to eventually suffer through all this one way or the other. It's going to be fascinating to see, but gold will likely win this election. So post your thoughts in the comment section below. Would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch this video, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.